Hey everyone, how's it going? Luke from A Taste of AZ. On today's episode, we've got the dudes from Drinking Horn Meadery. Their mead is fantastic stuff and it's super affordable. They're bringing it to the masses. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel below, leave us a like. Let's jump into it.
So here we are, all together, yet separate. The four of us. Like, I felt like that was the beginning of some like 80s sitcom. We were all together, yet separate. All right, that was. Can we edit that out, Luke?
Edit point number one.
That was a good intro. That was a good intro because if Nick wasn't involved, I might say. But you know what? We're vibing, Nick. This is you. This is the energy that is created that is causing this. Yeah. So Luke will cut all of this out just to let you guys know. But, so we're here with Drinking Horn Meadery. We are talking to Nick and Evan. Dudes, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. It's our pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Absolute pleasure to see your faces.
How's my lighting? I only have lighting on the one side. This is my bad side.
That side is beautiful. That side is beautiful.
The bad side
I'm getting
is beautiful.
a slight reading on my screen warning me that the handsomeness is kind of getting close to too much. So
it's going to have to start pixelating you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me hit that. Actually, I like that's a good name of a mead. My bad side is beautiful.
I like
Ooh.
that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. My bad side is beautiful. You should see my good side.
Yeah. There we go. That would be a part B. It would be a 2-part mead. Let's do that. I would like to make some mead. That's for sure.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
That would be awesome.
So, guys, Evan, you are the man behind this, right? You've been making some mead for a little bit.
Yeah, for a little bit. Yeah, me and my wife, we got started. I mean, do you want to dig right in? Should we go for it? All right.
Where are you from? Let's start way back. Like, where did you grow up?
I grew up in the old dirty Berkey. I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was pretty much born and raised. I had a military family, so they moved around a lot and kind of settled there with Sandia Labs and everything else there. My mom was a teacher, so I got the science side from my dad and the love and nature side from my mom. So kind of all leads into it, you know.
That's a good combo.
It's a good combo. Totally.
Yeah.
I had my dad's an aerospace engineer, and my mom's a teacher, so it was definitely a good combo. Very analytic and very whatever the other one is. So
well, if you think about it, right? Like if you because a lot of times the analyticals aren't able to explain to somebody like what it's just here. Like I don't know how to tell you, and then a teacher,
yeah.
as our friend Nick here is like, let me be that conduit between the two. That
Metaphors.
That's why I have to have him with me. He's able to decipher the things that come out of my mouth and explain it to other people.
Because what he actually said and meant was,
yeah. So how did you grew up in Albuquerque and like all through school and all that?
All through school, through college, went to UNM there. We call it University near Mommy for all of us that went to high school and then college in the exact same town. But when they're going to offer a state lottery, you got to take what they give you.
What do you mean a state lottery?
So in New Mexico, if you have above a 3.0 in high school, 3.5, something along those lines, the state immediately offers you a scholarship that covers like 95% of your schooling, 90%, something like that.
No shit.
So I went to all of college for like $500 a semester, minus the cost of books and everything else.
Damn,
so it made it easy.
awesome.
It made it. Yeah, New Mexico's really an amazing place. Don't go there, anybody else, you'll ruin it. But like it's a pretty fantastic area, and like I love that state. It's a very rugged, tough but beautiful state. And so, but it was nice. Thank you, New Mexico state government, for sending me to college. Duly appreciated.
Yeah. And he's putting it to good use. Like this is, you are like the shining child of New Mexican fermented honey, right?
That's because we made it out alive. If you make it out of New Mexico alive, you got to be shining something. It was because I went to college for a biology degree, and I actually worked for about 10 years with Fish and Wildlife Service, USGS, mostly with federal government, doing endangered species stuff. Is what I put that to use for about 10 years, and it was good. I mean, I loved it, but I would spend 280, 300 days a year sleeping on the sand, doing field work mostly for it. And so it's like, I got a wife and kids, and I kind of started to not like being away so much. It's hard to hear your kids be like, hey, do you remember when? Oh, you weren't there. Do you remember when? Oh, you weren't there. And like you start to get tired of that after a while. So it was good work. I loved it. I have my own bitter disagreements with the way some of the Endangered Species Act stuff is handled in this country. But that's a different podcast.
I feel like it's a series. That is a series. Yeah. Well, when you say podcast, like you're talking about a whole one of its own.
A whole new show.
Yeah.
Because it is. I mean, I spent a lot of time in it and I loved what I did, but I got into it to help fish. Most specifically, that's where my focus was fish. And it just wasn't, I wasn't getting as much done in the government as I thought I could.
Why? So can you share anything? Because it's interesting. What are some of the things that are those barriers?
I think, so one of the biggest ones was like, you would write these papers and you'd go in, you'd be given this, I guess the way to say this is like, we would be given a contract, or I'd get a contract from the government, and they would be hiring us to do a specific study. Go in and look at this fish, see why this fish is not surviving as well as it should be. So we would go in and we'd do studies and we'd write reports. And most of the time, like, we're working on these desert river systems. I did work all across the Southwest, pretty much the entire Colorado River drainage, all the way through the Grand Canyon and everything. And like you're talking about desert rivers that are extremely fragile for one, and then we've gone about damming them up. And so it presents a pretty big problem for a lot of these fish. So one of the big ones, one of the coolest fish that was in the Colorado River that used to be in the entire drainage basin for it, was the Colorado Pike minnow. And it's this like 5-foot long top predator of the Colorado River, and it was a toothless minnow. So you're talking normally a minnow. Yeah. You're talking
Sounds like a minnow, huh?
like this big.
Yeah.
And this pike minnow, Colorado pike minnow, would get 5 to 6 feet long.
Jesus.
And it was the top predator in there. Toothless, no teeth. It's just got this big, soft, squishy mouth.
And it was a top predator.
It was the apex. Dude. It was the wolf or the mountain lion or whatever of the river system. And so we were on this one project that I was working on, and we caught a fish in the Green River, and all these fish have tags in them, right? So like pit tags, it's the same ones that we put in like your dogs and cats and stuff like that, so that you can scan it and you get a specific number for that individual. So we catch this fish on the Green River. 2 weeks later, I'm working on the Yampa, which is east of it and also feeds into the Green River, and we caught the same fish again. So it had traveled 280 miles or something like that in less than 2 weeks. And so you can see, like, some of these fish, they have very, very specific breeding grounds. So they'll be able to navigate, like historically anyway, before the dams, they would have maybe one chunk on one piece of river that poured into the Colorado where they would all go to spawn. You put up a dam that blocks that, kind of screws up the fish. Yeah. Like every dam that I ever worked on, every old timer, like every single dam, there was always an old timer that would come up when you're out there working, and he'd be like, I remember when this dam went in and these fish were so thick you could walk across them at the bottom. And I'm like, because they would all just stack up at the bottom of the dam, because they're like, well, normally we swim up this. Yeah. Now what do we do?
Yeah.
And so like you hear that story just everywhere. And so that was my problem with doing the ESA stuff, was that like, you would find the root of the problem, you would know what it was, but you really couldn't do anything about it. Because like, I'm not out here trying to say that we should be blowing up dams or anything like that. Like, we need dams. We live in a desert. We need to be able to regulate our water flow. For folks that aren't familiar with the desert, like, we get massive amounts of water in very short periods of time. So like what is it? I think like the majority of the water in Phoenix is made up from like 8 storms out of the year or something like that. It's like very specific events. And so like we have to be able to aggregate this water and then use it for, I mean, even just things like boating and fishing and that kind of stuff is important. People need that. We also need agriculture. We need that too. But we also got to figure out how to, if you want the river to thrive and be healthy, we got to figure out how to make it work, not just for us, but for the animals that have been living in it for however long. So it's frustrating. It was frustrating work, but it was a lot of fun. I love driving boats. I love crashing boats into walls and stuff. It's a lot of fun.
It's part of the job. It's part of the job, you know. They're
part of the job.
The job. So then you're traveling. You were like, man, I want to. You're frustrated with this. You don't want to travel. So where do you go from there?
Well, it kind of started, these trips. When I started working out of Flagstaff, because I kept taking contracts kind of all over the Southwest, just taking them where I could find them, work somewhere for 6 months, 12 months, 14 months, and then I'd move on to the next location. So I got to live in every state in the Southwest for different periods of time. And when I met the lady who's now my wife, I tricked her good. When I met her, I actually met her in this tiny little town called Wendover, Nevada, or Wendover, Utah. It actually split down the middle. So you can imagine with the way those two states have different laws, how interesting of a town that is. Because on one side, you can gamble and have your top off and be drunk in the street, and the other side, they'll arrest you for all of that. So it's kind of a weird little town. But
don't stumble over that line, literally.
Don't stumble. Yeah, really. And so I met her, moved to Flagstaff, and started working on the Grand Canyon down here with USGS, which was actually kind of really cool because it was sort of like I had worked all the rest of the Colorado River watershed, like I said, and this was sort of the wrap up to it. I didn't know it was a wrap up at the time, but it was a wrap up to it because it was like I finally get to sort of finish the whole continuity of the river for the most part, and got to work in the big one down there. But I was always gone for these long chunks, so our trips down in the canyon would be about 30 days or so, and you're down there, And mead is one of those that you mess with it and then you have to let it sit. You mess with it, and then you have to let it sit. And it can take forever. I mean, we would make mead, and it would take 1.5 to 2 years to get a batch all the way through to where I wanted somebody to drink it. We've sped that up a little bit, obviously. Otherwise, our mead would cost more. But we've sped that up a good bit for sure. But mead was a very easy thing for me to make while I was down on the river. And I got into mead initially because I grew up raising bees. When I was back there in Albuquerque, I grew up raising bees, and I was telling this to a buddy of ours. She was like, "Hey, you ever tried making mead?" And I was like, "What the heck is mead?" At this point, And so,
how old were you? How old were you?
Shoot, this was probably almost 10 years
10
ago.
years, yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere around that.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, gave us the suggestion, and so I was like, well, I'll try what mead is. And to be honest, I was kind of getting to the point, and I don't know if I have some sort of a gluten intolerance or nothing else seems to bother me, but I was getting to the point where some of the craft beers, I'd get 3 beers in and I'd have a headache. And so it was no fun to drink. And so when somebody suggested mead and I had never heard of it, I was like, well, I'll give that a try. That seems fun. And I love the buzz. That was one of my favorite parts about mead, was that buzz. And for everybody who's used to drinking mead or used to drinking beer and knows beer is a different buzz from mead, from wine, from tequila, from all that, right?
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the buzz that mead was. And so, but I didn't like how sweet everything was. Everything that was out there was so thick and syrupy and sweet. And so I wanted to try to just make something a little lighter, a little easier to imbibe and all of that. And, so when my girlfriend and I decided to get married, the whole history, part of mead has a whole lot of history that's sort of embedded in our culture that we sort of forget or overlook, or it just gets forgotten about over time. And one of those is the honeymoon. So the word honeymoon comes from mead. You were supposed to have enough honey wine to last a moon cycle, hence honeymoon. And you were just supposed to stay drunk for 30 days, which that's fantastic.
That definitely helps with fertility for sure if you're 30 days drunk with your newlywed.
Right, and that was the whole part of the reasoning was you're supposed to have the mead for 30 days so that it helps with fertility and virility, which, if you stay drunk the whole time, that's easy.
Yeah, there's a balance. It could also go swing the other way if you get too drunk. I
No
mean, not
pun
from
intended.
experience.
I mean, I don't personally know, but a friend of mine.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I forgot where I was at.
Yeah, so the honeymoon is what you all of a sudden you had this this newlywed, you guys were getting married and you had discovered making mead, so
it just made sense.
Yeah.
So I made up 30 gallons for the wedding, and this was, as a home brewer, you're not subject to laws and regulations like you are as a commercial thing. So I kept track of my numbers and fermentation, but I didn't calculate alcohol content or any of that stuff. I just made things till they tasted good.
Yeah.
And going back now and redoing those recipes and looking at them, I was cooking things up to 20% alcohol on some of that stuff, using using solely EC 1118 and just crank it up.
I don't know what that
why everybody
means.
was so drunk at my wedding.
Intense.
Oh man, it was I was making things a little too hot.
It made for a
Need that on a
great wedding reception.
Oh, it
Need
was
to make that on a
fantastic. Like we had a bunch of kegs from Dark Sky. We had 3 kegs from Dark Sky there, and when people were there drinking, enjoying, imbibing, and they drank almost no beer whatsoever, and they drank so much mead. People were coming back the next day after the wedding, and were like, "Hey, you got any more of that mead stuff?" And so that was kind of the shining moment right there, when it was like, well, if I'm looking for something else to do and I can make this, maybe I make it for more than just myself. Yeah. And it's just gone downhill since then. Straight down.
I always get confused. I always get thrown off by that statement. Always throws me off. It's all uphill. It's all downhill. I'm like, wait, what's the good one? Right? Because
no, for sure.
It's shittier to like push something up a hill, but then if it's going down the hill, then you have no control. It's like we're fucked. I don't know.
I think we've kind of done both. Like we pushed the rock uphill for about like 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we found ourselves in front of this round rock downhill running.
Shit.
Oh, shit.
Well, dude, one thing you said, I wanted to kind of go back because Nick, I know you've got, I can't wait to hear how this guy came dancing into the picture. And I know he was dancing. There was music somehow. But I like how you said the buzz. No one talks about that, right? Everyone, I'm going to kind of go out on a limb here. Some people may hate me for saying this, but I hate when people say, I don't drink it for the buzz. Like, why are you drinking them then? Then don't drink it. You know, like, I don't know. Is that judgmental?
You could find something with the same taste and a whole lot less detrimental to your body if you drink it without alcohol.
Yeah. So the buzz is the key part to it. And I agree with you. There have been times where I've drank an entire bottle of mead, which is overindulgence, but it's a different feeling. It's a completely different feeling, you know?
Up to a certain point. There's something awesome, too, about the fact that you got into it because of the buzz and it's mead. That's like the best pun of all time.
Show him the shirt, Nick. Show him the shirt. Wait, Nick's rotating. Nick's rotating. Upwards.
Bees make the best buzz.
That is awesome. I need one of those shirts.
Yes.
Yeah. For anybody who didn't see it, Nick's shirt that he has on, a Drinking Horn shirt, and on the back of it, it says "Bees make the best buzz," which we're pretty thick into puns around here too. It's puns of steel.
Puns of steel.
Puns of steel.
That is a perfect segue. How did you get involved with this jabroni?
Chaos. Actually, Nick and I met for the first time on a 3-day backpacking trip.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
On accident?
First time. Yeah. No.
Somebody was lost? Somebody found somebody?
Our lady friends were friends.
There were some accidents, for sure.
Lots of accidents.
But it wasn't by accident. No.
Nick recorded it on a podcast. No, that was a different accident he had. Yeah.
I have had some on the podcast before. Falling down the hill, Beaver Street or
Beaver Yeast. The Beaver Yeast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, you remember that? You just. Oh man, but still my heart.
That was one of my favorite. That's like a top 5 podcast moment for me. Like across the board, man. You know, I've got the Joe Rogan conversations, and I got Nick falling down the hill looking for Beaver Yeast.
Always here to satisfy with physical self-mutilation, accidental. Yeah.
That's why we get along.
Yeah. That's a deep track back to brew trails. Yeah. So I knew Evan through, our, as he just said, lady friends worked together, and Evan came into the picture and suggested that we, go hang out. And the first thing we do is go into the Grand Canyon for 3 days on a backpacking trip. So
hadn't spent more than an hour around you.
No.
Before that.
It was just the two of you?
Yeah. Just the two of us in the canyon for some days. Just the two of us. Drank so much beer we were in a haze. Just the two of us. But we became such good friends. Just the two of us. Until the water ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you get grumpy.
Oh, when he goes, just let him go. Just let him go.
That was amazing.
You just let him go. It's true.
I've learned it. Because he trails off for a second. You think, all right, this is the end of it. And you're like, give him a chance. Give him a chance. And then it comes back. Never let me down, my friend.
No.
So you guys go backpacking. 2 dudes backpacking.
2 dudes oh, that's a video that we put out privately. 2 dudes backpacking. And so we ended up... just connecting immediately. Just the goofballness is a great way of The goofballness is a great connector. Yeah, and then started right there, and it was a little while, not long after that, where I don't even know if Dark Sky had started yet or not.
No, not yet.
So,
You were still teaching.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Still a science teacher, and so became friends then, and then I went off on a side journey of Dark Sky, which completely and utterly, engulfed me, and so we didn't really get to hang out quite as much after that. But then you started Drinking Horn. And I went through the whole process of Dark Sky, as an owner, working that, building that up. Everything was great. Just sold off my ownership recently. And when that happened, I wanted to hop over here and see if I could help these guys out with getting Drinking Horn, see what I could do with them. And it was an easy decision. They actually came to me. And before I think they even got it out of their mouth, I was like, hell yeah. I want to dive into this adventure, and it's been an adventure.
It's been an adventure, but it's just like people say, like, if you're going to try to start a business, like, surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. You know? So I've got.
Well, you messed up there.
I've got it all the way around, man. Between my wife, between Nick, between our head brewer, between everybody, between even our bartenders, they know more than I do. And so, like, it's you use people's strengths, and one of our biggest weaknesses at the time was my photography skills. They are terrible.
Yeah, you cut off some heads and some weird.
Yeah, they're still terrible.
Yeah.
I pretty much have to bring Nick anywhere with me if I want to have a good picture. Because if I'll come back from doing something solo and he'll be like, "Oh, cool, did you get pictures for me?" I'm like,
one, and it's like a blur, just
Right? It's mostly like me with red eyes, one all squinty. Like, dude, I can't use this.
like up your nostril somehow. Like, yeah. Well, because I know, Nick and I connected pretty early because, of Dark Sky being on the, what do you guys, is that the traditional?
We're drinking coffee. It's occasionally around here, like, when you order, you have to order X number of things to try to get like the best deal on something.
Sure.
And sometimes we run a little shy. And so this is a coffee with only a back label.
Yeah.
What?
Wait,
I ran out of front labels for it.
Yeah.
Wait, so is that the coffee mead?
Yeah.
Coffee mead.
I was like, that's real thin to be just coffee, but I've never seen the coffee mead. Man, you guys, I thought my parents were weak with their Folgers, dude. I love that.
Nice.
I love that. Yeah.
You gotta get your woobies.
Wu-Tang with the bees. That's my coffee mug. Woobies. Ooh, woobies. Show me your woobies.
So Nick and I, we connected. Watch your mouth. This is a family goddamn podcast. So, so I knew. So Nick had several times had told me about your place of like, oh man, you gotta have Evan on. You gotta have and you and I had talked to Evan as far as getting you on the podcast. So I knew you guys were friends. I knew that I knew you guys were friends. And then one day, I don't know what it was, but I saw one of your guys' videos just come across, and I'm like, it looks like Nick Irvin's work. And I reached out to you, Nick, and I was like, hey, dude, I said, are you with Drinking Horn? And you're like, yeah, shh, just like a joke, just like, you son of a bitch. And I knew it. And I think maybe the next one came out, then I think, Nick, you were in it. So I love it. When I tasted those meads at the Craft Beer Hop Stop, shout out to Alan. Dude's awesome.
Yeah, big shout out to Alan.
7th Avenue and Union Hills, if you're in that area, he's the guy to go to. I've never seen him, I don't think his feet have ever been on the ground at the same time, like both of them. Like one's always moving. So. Like he's always like moving. Even when he's ringing you out, he's somehow moving. But the dude's awesome. But when I saw Nick join, I was like, man, that's just a great combo. I had a great connection with you, Evan, just chatting about your mead, and your mead was awesome. And then to bring Nick on, I've loved Nick for a long time, and it's like, hell yeah. So how long ago was that? How long ago was it that you guys connected, and how long did you start kind of really working with these guys?
It's like around October, I think, of last year.
Somewhere around then.
September, October.
It was right after we decided to build out the mead hall, pretty much. And so, like, when we made that big jump, like, it was not as well thought through as you'd think something that big would be. But it was one of those, like, quick realizations. Like, I needed help. I needed to get things off of my plate as fast as I could.
Yeah.
And I wanted to find the best person to do it. And, well, it was pretty easy because he was already in my phone book. So we made it simple that way. Made it simple. Yeah, that's right about when we brought you on, because I really needed. We were kicking up production into high gear, producing as much as our facility possibly can, and pushing the limits on it. And I needed help bad.
Well,
Let me
ask you. Sorry, Nick. I think I jumped ahead a whole lot because it's just like, so we started the meadery, and then 8 years later this happened. How did you get to the point where production was high? Like you have this idea, you're going to start Drinking Horn. Where did we go from there?
It was a long road. I mean, so for the first almost year and a half or 2 years, we actually started this company at the exact same time, almost maybe a half a year behind when Dark Sky was starting. Okay. There's alcohol's ridiculous. We have 7 licenses or something to be able to sell alcohol, something like that. And the very first one, and they all come in a series, right? For our licensing, you have to get one, and then the next one, and then the next. The first one took 390 days, 400 days to get the first one.
Geez.
And it was like, oh my goodness, what is going to go on with this? But it was, and before even applying for that
Dude, I love
one,
that. That's my new ringtone. Sorry, I'm just
dude, yeah.
I'm stealing that.
It keeps me answering my phone because then I'm like, oh, is it fun? And then I'm like, oh shit, it's work. Is it fun? Oh no, still work. And but I don't know. It took a while to get everything together for all that. It took a long time for the licensing. And then like any job, you started off and you start working about 4 or 5 jobs by yourself until you start making enough to bring on a new person. And the next person I brought on was my brother-in-law, who Charlie, who's our head brewer now and does all the brewing plus a bunch of other junk. And that was kind of the first step. But it's just been like that, where it's like you work 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 jobs until it gets big enough where you have a whole job that you can give to somebody, and hopefully at that time your business is making enough revenue to be able to bring that person on and totally hand it off to them. So we're still doing it. I still do 4 or 5 jobs. It gets better and better all the time.
You do way more than 4 or 5 jobs.
I need more
Evan
hats.
is insane.
I've only got 1 hat though. What the hell?
Those headphones make up for it, though. That's like
it's what holds my brain in. It's the only thing that I actually wear these all the time now.
Yeah, so when he's talking about the licenses and trying to get it going and why it took so long, I think one of the big parts of that, or at least maybe some part of it, was the fact that mead is even though it's the oldest alcoholic beverage, it's really new to us, as a modern culture, a modern society. And so technically we are a winery, like a farm winery. And so there are laws, there are licenses, there are things that happen here that nothing is on the books specifically about, because you could call us a winery all you want, but we're not a winery. People call it honey wine, but it's not wine. Wine is grapes, right? And do we have any grapes around here?
Not a single grape around here.
Yeah.
Right?
Why?
I mean,
so why then? Why is it considered a winery?
Good question. It's just federally, that's where they decided to lump it into. I mean, that's part of the reason that the word honey wine has always really driven me nuts, is because mead came before every other producible alcohol that we make. And so it's it should be called, grape mead, and beer
Fruit
should be
mead.
called grain mead. Yeah, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas it should be the other way around. So it's funny that I don't know, just order of operations, I guess, drives me nuts with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So trying to deal with, the government and and all the different decisions, it's, it just adds that little, bit more friction in getting things going, because I'm sure a lot of times they were at their offices over at the, the TTB or whatever, being like, do you know how to deal with this? No, I don't know how to deal with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think Joe knows how to deal with it? No. What about Susie? I don't know. So I'm sure it adds some friction to get things going, where beer, beer's a whole different story. I feel like beer, you just say hey, I'm a brewery and I'm going to do this. Everyone's just like, awesome, cool, sweet, just go for it. I don't give a fuck. And
Sure.
we can do whatever.
I don't know. I don't care. Go ahead.
We can make a lager and call it an imperial stout and throw a dead cat in it and and label it as a red
Milk
ale,
stout.
And they're just like, okay, cool, sounds good to me. I don't know,
So
milk stout, meow.
Milk stout.
Can you milk me?
Dude, let's I'm writing that down. It's gonna be a mead milk stout. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I've got nipples, fucker. Can you milk stout me?
And that's what it would be. The label art would be like milking a cat somehow.
Or milking Robert De Niro.
That would be a disturbing picture.
Luke's like, I'm going to get our attorney on the line real quick to.
Can we make it a young Robert De Niro? I'm just saying.
Yeah. Taxi
Yeah.
driver. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. So I want to put that out there that like we're in a position where mead is there's still decisions being made, and there are struggles. Like when it's totally different when you are talking about the business goings on of say a brewery as opposed to a meadery. Evan has to deal with a lot more to just get little things passed, and everything from labels to
There's a lot of rules.
There's a lot more striction. That's strict friction. It's a new word by Nick Irvin. Striction. There's a lot more striction. Oh, actually restriction is a word. I think that. Oops.
But I think part of that is like the
Restriction is
wine
this
industry is
again.
very, very old, and there's a lot of very big wineries out there that very much like the status quo and really don't want mead coming in to shake it up. I mean, look at all those Budweiser commercials, right? They spent a ridiculous amount of money trying to put mead down, dilly dilly, and all that bit. And like, it's a threat for sure to the current way that alcohol is made. So those big players, they don't want to see changes in this industry for us, and they're not gonna. They're gonna be lobbying. They're gonna be doing advertisements as much as they can to try to put us down. Which like. Thank you, Budweiser, by the way. Those commercials were great.
People are like, what's mead? I don't know. Drinking Horn's down the street. Let's go check them out.
That was exactly what we had. People be like, I heard about this mead stuff on my football commercials. I'm like, sweet. Put this in your mouth. Give it a taste. I'm like, and it usually worked pretty well. They're like, well, all I drink now is Coors and traditional mead. So it's like, sweet. I'm all in.
Buzz
I
Light.
guess it would be Bud.
Well,
yeah.
then before you know it, they're going to be making like Bud Mead, like light mead to sell to everyone, and putting commercials out about that.
Oh yeah,
wouldn't
Buzz
doubt
Light.
Yeah, totally.
Buzz
I don't
Light.
think they would. I don't think they would dump that much money into those commercials if they weren't just trying to feel it out, right? So that's like my conspiracy with those commercials totally feeds into that, because it's like I think they put money into it and they wanted to see, all right, if we put this amount of money into making it more known as a word, mead, then like let's see if that gives a bump to the market. Let's see if that starts to take away from our beer sales. If we can literally advertise for the opposition, not heavily, but let's see how it works, and if there's enough interest, then we start our own meads. And I wouldn't be surprised.
Or the way Budweiser would do it, AB InBev, they'd buy
buy it up.
Yeah, they'd buy already started meaderies, and then they've got shelf space. That's interesting. I never actually put too much thought into that. That's a good thought that once mead gets big enough, which it will.
Oh yeah.
Coming from, I mean, I'll love beer my whole life, and I'll always be a beer guy. But this beverage has something about it that is good for your body, good for your mind, and good for your soul. And that sounds hippie gypsy, but it is good for your body. It's very simple. It's honey, it's water, it's yeast, and then whatever fruits or spices you can put in there, which can actually enhance for the body.
We don't even use sulfites, sorbates. We don't use any preservative in our product whatsoever.
So yeah, you guys want to talk about that? This is a big deal because
for us, yeah.
all wines and almost damn near all meads have certain chemicals, sulfates that stop
Even a lot of beer.
and some production beers when you have to bottle it and make sure that all the yeast is definitely done and not going to ferment anymore and not blow up product or anything like that. You add these to stop the fermentation process, but these are cognigers. These are things that can kind of when people say I can't have wine because of the sulfates or sulfites, it gives me a headache or it messes with me. Like these are chemicals that the body's like, what the hell is this chemical? I need to take care of this. I need to filter it. It's a toxin. So Evan has very quickly came up with a way after, I don't know, I know Black Cherry, the original one, had sulfites and sulfates, but that was it. Yeah, right off the bat after the first batch of that.
I didn't want to have to do titrations for something that you're going to be drinking. Like I'm putting a lot of effort into getting really high quality honey, really high quality fruit, and then go and wreck it with a bunch of chemicals. Like I had to wear a full, not like an N95 mask, like a rebreather, and then gloves. I had to learn titration, all this stuff. And like if
to
you
put into something we're gonna drink.
Right. It was so
man.
gross. And that's using the pure sulfite, which is, it's the same thing that everybody uses across the board for that preservative. Like if your mask slipped and you smelled a little bit of it, you would smell nothing but that for like 3 or 4 days. And it was like, I'm putting this shit into a beverage? Like, that's ridiculous. So we gave up on that after the first one. Because, like, my mentor in all of this, he was like, yeah, I remember not wanting to use sulfites. You'll get over it. Yeah, I just never did.
Yeah. Good for you, though, man. And that's another thing. Like in all seriousness, like, I joke about, Nick, you guys connect from the goofiness and the videos and things like that. But on a serious level, like that's what I've always loved about Nick is like his connection to nature of, him falling down the hill trying to get beaver yeast. Like the story, like I wouldn't have remembered that as much. And is it still is it up somewhere, Nick? Is it still?
It should be. Yeah. Brew Trails, that podcast, I'm not making new episodes, but there's, like 30 episodes or so. It should be up.
Those are great, man. Those are great. So I don't remember the episode number, but listen to Nick falling down the hill. But no, his commitment and then seeing like, dark scale go on these trips to, cut spruce tips or, getting prickly pear. He's always brought that natural touch to dark sky. So now to bring that to Drinking Horn or to add to that, because that's probably where you guys connected with that. Is that right?
Absolutely. And bringing a lot of that nature in is Nick now gets to put on a bee suit for some.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I am absolutely loving. I kind of have that personality where I find something new and I just dive in full force. But like bees and the science of bees and they're like, it is freaking rad. I am loving bee culture and the honey and the science of honey and beekeeping. I'm listening. That's pretty much all the podcasts I'm listening to right now is mead, but also bees and beekeeping. Yeah. And so Evan has always kept bees, and so we've got hives down south in the Camp Verde area, and we get to go suit up and go play with the bees and hang out with the bees and more. I'm excited to go learn. And then this brings us into another thing, not to segue yet. I won't segue yet, but like the whole process of creating mead is not just sustainable, it is progressive. It is adding to, the health of plants and agriculture a lot. There are a lot of, groves and almond and stuff like that the bees go. But overall, the process of producing mead, I think, is a plus.
Absolutely.
Which is crazy. That's nuts to me. So anyway, the nature part of it, me jumping in, I hope to bring more of that and hope to go on trips and harvest fruits and all that stuff. They've already done that, but I hope to bring that to it. But I don't know. I just want to say bees are freaking awesome.
Bees are cool.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the funny thing is when you first said you're like, Nick gets to wear a bee suit, I pictured like, remember Blind Melon? No rain. That's what I pictured. That's all I can say.
I would love it. Oh, sign me up.
Now we're going to have to get Nick a bee suit.
Oh, for sure, dude. And
We've already got a couple of dudes that are Vikings that dress up like Vikings and do all that for us, so we need a bee.
Absolutely, man. Hey, you know what? If he turns it down, I'm in. I've got the body.
Hey.
I feel like I have the body structure of that girl.
Nick's already searching bee suits on his phone.
Yeah.
He just purchased
most people.
one click.
Yeah. I had it in my cart already. I was just waiting for approval. So
company card, send. You said yes. You said yes. That was your idea.
Oh, company card. Damn it! I should have thought about that.
Oh, yep.
Dang.
Gotcha.
That's another fun part is we do have that bee culture, and I can I'd love to be in a bee suit. It's funny. Most employees would be like, no, I don't want to do that. Do I have to do that? And I'm like, please, that's me.
I care. Sure.
We've also got the Viking culture, right? The Norse mythology. I am nerding out on that as well.
Hard.
Hard. Yeah. I'm learning all sorts of crazy stuff and spending again free time looking up these myths and these poems and these stories. And so that's just another really cool part about what's going on here at Drinking Horn. And Evan started a mead hall in the middle of a pandemic, so you're not quite going to see the intensity that you're going to see with some future films and future, short videos and stuff with Vikings. But it's coming.
I don't know if you guys saw the pictures of the mead hall. It came out pretty good, I think.
That looks awesome. That's in the, it's right by what was it, Grand Canyon Cafe?
Yeah.
Two doors down.
Right
next to it. Yeah.
Right by
no, I'm sorry. It is directly next door to Proper Meats, which was
Proper Meats was the old Grand Canyon Cafe, and then you guys are right next door. Dude, that's awesome. That kind of it almost kind of I don't say shines that corner up, but that kind of seals that corner a little bit, right? Because you already had Martin's and you had some great places. And I think I'd never been to Grand Canyon. I wanted to make that. I wanted to check it out, but then they end up closing down, unfortunately. But that's cool that another local place, Proper Meats, highly respected, great products. I haven't met the dudes, heard awesome things about them. And then you guys next door, dude, that's a great way to start Route 66 in downtown Flagstaff.
Right. I think we're the only meadery in the world on Route 66, Route 66.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
In the world, you have to say world on Route 66.
Somewhere in like Slovenia, there's a Route 66 with a meadery, and they're like, "Hey, what about us?"
Damn it! I always forget about Slovenia.
Slovenia.
So you guys got dude. I've seen pictures. We can't wait to come up. Check that place out. But I'm glad you brought that up. A little history about the mead, like what is because that's what intrigues me, is you come from Albuquerque and you talk about the ruggedness of it, right? And then you come to Arizona, there's a ruggedness about that, especially when you're spending a month in the Grand Canyon. Now you're making this product that was created by probably the most rugged group of people ever, right? The Vikings, man. Yeah, dude. Just Nick, in your research, I want you to look up a song called Ear Flopper. Do some research on that for me.
Ear Flopper.
You pulled this on me one other time, and I haven't forgotten about that in my computer. I had to throw it away, so this better not be one of those again.
So my wife and her family, they're all from northern Minnesota. They're all 6 foot tall. They're the Riestenbergs, the Machinskys, and they're cool people, but they're tough, right? And they have this family chant called Ear Flopper, and it's like this 5-minute chant that is and I picture like a Viking ship coming up to the shore and all these Vikings chanting the Ear Flopper. So I need Nick to tell me the story of that. Yeah.
Look forward to that on a future episode of the Drinking Horn Meadcast, which is our podcast that we create. There will be an Ear Flopper episode guaranteed.
Even if we have to make it up. Yep.
You're right. We're doing it.
So
that's cool.
Things are ramping up, right? Things are ramping up for Drinking Horn, and bring Nick on, and now you're like, let's open a spot. That's natural progression, right?
It totally was. Like we were running a little tiny, like I like to call it our micro tap room. We're sitting in it right now. This is our micro tap room.
Guess how many tables were in our micro tap room?
2.
Oh, you got it!
And I feel like they're together. They're like the elementary school where like the desk is attached to the chair.
Yeah, pretty much. They actually were the desks attached to the chair. People would like squeeze into them.
Yeah,
putting their purse underneath the seat.
It made Nick feel better as a teacher.
Yeah.
Okay, kids.
So you had
this tiny.
Yeah. So that was your tasting room and production facility.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we had all the production in the back, and like the front room would be an office for 4 days. And then we'd clean all that up, reset it, and make it a tap room for the next 3 days. And it just kind of alternated back and forth like that between office to tap room. And like it was tiny, and it would be crammed most of the time. Like it was. I mean, we had 6 chairs. So usually there was like 20 people standing.
Crammed.
Like it would get pretty crammed, especially when we were doing like Sunday brunch events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which does have a fun little nice story for a podcast, actually. We even made shirts for Sunday brunch. Sunday brunch.
Wow.
And so it was, we did this thing Sunday brunch, which all stemmed. We were on Guy Fieri's Guy's Family Road Trip way back in the day. And he came in, drank some mead. We'd been open for literally 6 months, maybe, making sales when Guy Fieri came in. But anyway, it's 2 days of filming. It ends up being this whole ordeal. And my wife's only words after all of this filming that made it into the actual production, where Guy's wife asks, "Oh, this pomegranate's great. When would you drink this?" And my wife goes, "Sunday brunch." And that was her only line.
Out of all of it.
8 hours, 12 hours of filming, and those were her lines out of it. And so I of course thought it was hilarious, and I'm kind of a sarcastic bastard. So I made a t-shirt to commemorate it that said Sunday brunch on it.
Yeah.
And we got a real good kick out of that. People started buying the shirts, and then people are like, "So when are you doing these Sunday brunches?" And I was like, "Well, I guess we need to do Sunday brunches now." And so it just that's when you're pushing that rock, you're pushing it, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, where'd my rock go?" And it's behind you. Oh. And then you're like, "Oh, I guess we got to make Sunday brunches now. Oh my God, I guess people want them twice a month."
Yeah. And those Sunday brunches, just to kind of go into another great thing about Mead, I'm just going to sit here and talk great things about Mead. The Sunday brunches are not only, a chance for people to come in and taste some Mead, but his wife Kelly and cousin Larissa are experts, without the certification, in coming up with pairings and coming up with these ideas to match meads with food. And then they're both amazing coming from the Midwest, cooks, where, there's butter and
real
butter.
And,
don't bring no tub that says "I can't believe." Get the hell out of here. I can't believe you brought this to my house is what it is. Yeah. No, but they have these Sunday brunches where there's just a platter of just deliciousness and a crock pot going and all this stuff to pair, and a giant vat of the sangria with the mead added. And so one great thing about mead is its ability to make mixers, cocktails, and pairings. It's something that I haven't seen the extent of in any other alcoholic libation, just for some reason. And you guys, I'm talking, it's a marinade. You put lemon ginger in chicken for 24 hours, chicken breast, and let that marinade.
Dude, steak and the coffee mead. Oh,
see, that's hard.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's hard for me to do, right? When I get a bottle of your mead, I don't want to, put it on the piece. I'm going to get salmonella because I'm going to still drink it after I marinate the chicken,
Not recommended, but hilarious.
Yeah. But
we can give you some old stuff to work with. We'll give you some old stuff to work with.
Oh, give me some leftovers. I'll cook with that shit.
Yeah.
I'll water my
case
trees.
for you. I got a case for you.
Yeah. All right, cool.
You want ants? That's how you get ants. Don't water your trees with mead.
Yeah, this fucking guy wanting his trees with mead. But no, I love that diversity. Well, because that's a big thing with craft beer, right? And I mean, obviously, I'm a much bigger fan of craft beer than I am of wine. But that's the big thing is, a lot of chefs are like, dude, I love cooking with, or I like beer better. There's more diversity with beer. But with mead, you're saying it's even bigger spectrum.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Anything you can do with a wine or a beer, you can do with a mead.
And I think those sugars, those it depends. I mean, you can do some crazy spiced meads and stuff like that. You can do a lot with beer, but whenever I cooked with beer before, you'd pick up some hints. But mead, it just jumps in there. It kicks in the door, waves in the 4-4, saying, "Biggie, don't hurt him anymore."
Man, I was.
Oh, you turned it. But it's just, there's something about the mead, that I think the marinades are a huge part of it.
The cocktails.
There's something, the cocktails.
I love the cocktails.
Okay,
That's
here's the thing
take
also.
A bottle and make a bottle last twice as long. Make cocktails with it.
Yeah, all of our meads run around 13%. And if you sit down and you want to be in your backyard hanging out with friends and it Drinking Horn Mead drinks too well. It drinks too good. You'll slam
It's
it.
noon on a Tuesday, and I just drank this whole bottle.
Yeah. So
my lips are numb. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how. I have to walk out to that door to my wife and kids in about 10 minutes. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. That's the bee venom. It's the bee venom making your lips numb. No. So
Genuine
13%
bee stinger in every bottle.
Yeah. 13. Oh, we can talk. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But yeah, the 13%, you want to make it last a little bit longer. Not only are you making it last, you're not diluting it. That's the thing too. You add ginger beer, or you add some seltzer with some spiced honey. You make these concoctions that take it to another level, take the diversity up, but also, cut that 13%, and you can make a bottle last, a little bit longer. It's damn good straight, but that's another thing that I love about it is you can turn one bottle into a night of fancy schmancy cocktails if you want.
Yeah. And we're always recommending people add stuff with it and cut it down. But like my mother, teachers, I tell you what, she likes to add whiskey and vodka and gin and stuff like that to it. She's a big fan of the drink our apple mead with a little bit of whiskey in there. She loves that.
Yep,
that actually sounds good.
And even warmed up a little bit. You can do some wintertime cocktails. Totally. Mead's good warm. Yeah. Mead's great warm.
Some of them are better warm than cold. Some of them are better cold than warm, but
he just covered every one of them.
There's no other combination. Everything's good. Don't drink anything else. Damn it.
Why are some of them better warm? Like what I would think something like a coffee or something like that, right? I guess. Yeah.
The coffee, the apple. Apple's one of my favorite ones to warm up because like if you can mix it with just straight up apple juice to cut down the alcohol and just throw it in a crock pot 50-50 with some apple juice and it's so good warm. If
you want to add some mulled spices to that,
add some mulled spices to it.
So Eric, and both of you guys know, Luke, that as ice cold beer might be refreshing, but you're not getting all the flavors from it. I think there are some meads that as you warm up, and for some reason that honey, the mead, you can warm it up even to actually consider it warm. You don't want to sit there and drink a warm beer. But anyway, those flavors really start to pop out a little bit more. If you take ice cold traditional from us, you're still going to have a great refreshing beverage. But if you drink our traditional at
like room temp,
maybe you throw it in the fridge for like 20 minutes. I don't know, just a little bit. But you're going to get these, all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, you know what? I taste that orange blossom honey. I can actually pick up the citrus in that. Yeah. And so I think that's part of it. I think just another part of it is how dry we make our meads as well. With that residual sweetness, it works warm. I don't know, Eric, it's magic. It's freaking magic, okay? Just accept it.
Magic.
I want to show you. I can't do it. I don't want to share my screen. That's a waste of time because it'll take me forever. But in my notes for this episode, I used the word magical in my description of you. Yes. So
yes.
So full circle.
We're gonna call you Magic Mick. I'm changing your name because it rhymes better.
Mick. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. I'm trying to do a magic trick right now.
Well, that's something Luke said too.
Your checks now.
Yeah, Mick. Classic Mick,
Classic Mick, Classic Mick.
Hey. Dude. End it. Drop it. Pull that mic out.
He's a magician.
Throw it down.
It came out of my ear. It was hidden in the headphones the whole time.
This is why if you're listening to this podcast right now, you need to go to our YouTube and watch the video of this episode because of shit like that, right?
Because Nick's a magician.
He's a magician. Go to youtube.com to see the magic tricks by Mick Irvin. That is Mick with an M.
Watch this. So he's even helping me make my mead disappear.
That's
another magic trick.
And he's also a time traveler because he went back in time and helped me already finish this one, which is kind of concerning.
That is what Nick would use his time travel abilities for. Travel around and help people drink. You're like, dude, you could do like more good with that. Like,
I just want to time travel to help people drink. Wow. Off the rails. You get on a podcast episode with Nick and trains off the tracks.
I told myself, keep it on track. It didn't work.
Okay, next question.
Dude, one thing I wanted to ask you, Evan, is what was the experience like with Guy Fieri? Because I'm a fan. Like, I'm a fan of Guy Fieri. People are like, oh, dude. I'm like, fuck you. Like, Guy Fieri's awesome, man. He brings nothing but positive energy, all the things that he does. So, I don't know. I guess that was me being biased. So, what did you think of him?
I'm totally with you there. Like I've kind of heard the same thing. People have their opinions one way or another about it, but like I'm a biology background, right? Like I know biology of things. I don't know how to freaking run a business, or at least I sure didn't when he was in here helping teach. I mean, I still don't, let's be honest. And like he came in and he just started like, the hardest part was you couldn't tell when he was filming or not. So like he does a lot of his own editing on stuff, so he knows when he's filming or not, but we wouldn't know. So he'd be standing there with you and he'd be like, so tell me a little bit about this tank, and then you'd start in and you'd start talking about it or start talking about how Mead's made or whatever. And then he would realize that like, okay, I'm done with this clip. But you didn't know that. And then he'd go, hey, did you know that in prison, certain guys produce better yeast than others, and they use those guys as their yeast production for certain wines and stuff and beers in prison for making their top deck hooch. And then would immediately go back into, so like as a production facility, what do you think? And you're just sitting there reeling from the last question, just imagining, well, where do they pull this yeast from? Like, is there a certain area? Should I stop thinking about this? And then you realize you're not even paying attention to whatever the hell he just said, and you're still thinking about people yeast. Like,
yeast.
Yeah. So that part was hard. But
was there a method to that? Like, why did he do that? Like, I don't understand.
I think he is just an extremely goofy dude. Was
he doing that to get a reaction out of you for the camera, or was he? You think that's?
I think so.
Almost like, hey, I'm going to make him feel really uncomfortable, and then they cut that in of you just going...
Right? And my face is like this, and everyone...
and then give the most serious question.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't know. It was tough, man. But at the same time, like, he would also be giving us little tidbits, right? As he was walking through, like... we had like 2 fermenters at the time. And so he's walking through and then he was like, you got all this overhead space. You need to use that. He was the one that originally told us we needed to have a tap room, believe it or not. I had zero intention of ever running a tap room of any sort or variety. My original plan was that I wanted to make something that produced mead. And if people happened to call me or whatever, they could come in and taste it here. It's just like, it's so cockamamie, like when you look back at it, you know? But like, that was my idea, was doing entirely wholesale production. I didn't want to run a tap room. I didn't want to deal with drunk people. I am a terrible drunk to deal with. And like, I didn't want to have to deal with me. Easy. That sounds like a terrible job. Yeah. So it was like, so he was like, you need a tap room. He's like, when this goes live in a month from now, he's like, you're going to need a tap room. And like, it was true. When he came through and that thing went live, like we were sending 20, 30 packages a day at that point, right after the video came out, because we shipped, 35 states, and it was just, we were just cranking them out. We'd do hundreds in a week. It was crazy. And so it helped us out so much, like to be so small and be open for 6 months and get, the 4 minutes of national coverage that we did was so huge for us. Like, who knows what it would have been without that, like it was absolutely fantastic. But, and like I said, he gave us so much information when he was going about doing that. Like, you need a tap room. This is how to design things for aesthetics and all this other stuff. And I was just trying to write this stuff down as quick as I could, kind of assuming this is the way Guy works, right? Like he comes in and he does this stuff. And one of the film crew, because you have Guy and his wife, and then you have about 20 people from the film crew, whether it's audio or video or staging or lighting, all this other stuff, right? Oh, it's a huge production.
Yeah.
And like, one of them takes me aside and he's like, hey, I would listen to what he's saying. Guy doesn't normally talk to people like this. So I was like, okay. Because originally, like, if this is one of those stories where we're going to go ahead and go with the long one. Like,
yes.
We were originally supposed to be the last 30 seconds on his TV show. Like just a little blip, blah, and then Drinking Horn out. He had already done, he's good friends with John Conley, who owns Salsa Brava and Fat Olives up here.
Oh, yeah.
That's how he got turned on to us, was he's a good friend with John. They've done a whole lot of TV together and stuff like that. And I guess John told Guy, hey, there's this mead thing. Might want to check it out. And when he originally came, like, we get a couple of people from the video, from his, production portion of things. They come in. We start feeding them mead, of course. And they are setting lighting. They're looking at the shots to take and everything else. And they're like, wow, this is not what I thought it was going to be. They're like, I really didn't expect to like this. And this is really tasty.
Oh, and then I guess Guy,
yeah. And well, at this point, like, I wasn't even there. He was still at the farmer's market or whatever. And he actually texted his guys that were here and was like, I'm not coming. He's like, we've had a crazy long day. It's been really rough over here. It's been hard getting the shots we want. My wife's grumpy or whatever. Like, I'm out. I'm done. You know? And they were like, no. You got to come. He's like, it won't take you long. You got to come over. You got to do this. It'll be cool. You'll like it. He gets here. And if y'all have seen my truck ever, like driving around town or anything, like it's rhino lined on the outside of the entire vehicle. It's on 35-inch tires. It's got dents everywhere. It's got a homemade box built onto the bed of the truck that has all my advertising on it. Like, it's an ugly bastard. And
it's a Twisted Metal character. It sounds like a Twisted Metal.
It really is. Nice. Heavy metal. And like, so he comes up, parks next to my truck, texts the guy again. He's like, this is some redneck shit. Like, I'm not coming in.
He's like, I'm done. Truck.
Yeah, parked right next to it. And like, and where our production facility is,
potato
like,
gun on
like,
the back?
Totally, right? You'd be lucky if it shot potatoes. And like, he comes in and he's like, this is like in a storage unit, because that's where our production facility is. Like, we're in a facility, but it's right next. We're surrounded by storage units. And so it's like, read our Yelp reviews. They're hilarious.
Yeah.
And so he pulls out and he's like, nope, not doing it. Not coming in. Texas guys in here, and they're like, no, you're already here. Like, just come in and taste it. He comes in and tastes it, and all of a sudden he gets on his phone, starts texting away, and he gets a bunch of his rest of his crew. Because like I said, we were supposed to be a 30-second blip. He didn't need any more than the 5-man crew he had here.
Yeah.
He makes a few texts, and he's like, let's wait. He's like, let's not talk. Let's not do anything. We're waiting for more crew to show up. And that's when the other 15 people came in and started setting up stuff. He's like, we need to make a batch. How can we make a batch right now? And
so
like,
he said, sorry to interrupt, but that's a key for me and Nick probably as an interviewer, Luke as well. Luke does a lot of interviews with the videos and stuff. He said, stop talking. Like, I don't want to know anything. Totally.
No. In fact, he had a big problem with, and you guys will like this. This is another little tip for it. Like, when he came in, like, if I see somebody, my go-to is like, hi, I'm Evan, blah, 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 like introductions, right? Like, look somebody in the eye, so on and so forth. And like, we started the introductions when he came in, and he's like, stop. He's like, I don't even want you guys to introduce yourselves before we get the cameras up, the audio up, the background up, so that way that the interaction when you're introducing is genuine and not a faked feeling. He's like, people can tell the difference. And so we recorded the introduction, and ironically enough, his sound guy forgot to turn on the sound, and so we actually lost it all.
Luke's cringing. Luke's cringing.
Yeah, seriously, that's painful.
Oh, dude, you can't imagine, like, this guy's, the look on his face was just like so sad. He knew he was going to hear about this one for like years, you know, be like, hey, remember that time when we did the introductions to Drinking Horn and you didn't even have the audio on?
Well, I doubt they were having that conversation. I bet that was he was looking for another job.
No, he's a long time guy.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Long time guy.
I was thinking, hey, remember when we left Gary in Arizona?
Yeah. And find your own way home.
It's Route 66. It takes you from, I don't know, somewhere else to this place. Yeah.
The Drinking Horn guy said it stretches worldwide, so be careful. You could drive too far on it.
Yep. There's the truck.
There's the truck. Once again, go to YouTube, watch this episode. You get to see the truck. That's badass.
It ain't pretty.
It is, though.
But it hauls mead. I'm a utilitarian kind of person. You know, it looks, whatever. Does it do the job? Yeah. Beautiful. That's why we have Nick.
Making things look pretty. Since 1978, right, Nick?
Zingers.
Ayo.
Zingers.
Yeah.
Luke and I's birthday is a month apart, right, Nick?
No,
November 78.
Luke and I's? No,
mine.
Nick and I's. Yes. Yeah, 78s. Graduate in 97.
Luke was born like 4 years after I graduated high school, so that's... But he brings
I'm with you, Luke.
the knowledge and the soul of a person who is much more knowledgeable and mature than me. So he is a...
Well, that knowledge has brought me to the decision that you guys need to get a Guy Fieri medieval-themed mural in your tap room. I think that's 100% necessary.
Viking Guy Fieri. He's all about that
would
too.
Be amazing. Like blowing one of the horns.
Yes.
Dude.
I think that's fantastic. In fact, we have an artist that actually, we have a genuine artist that actually paints all of our labels before they're made into labels. And he's also done some other artwork for us. I'm totally going to have him paint that.
That would be amazing.
You're
I would definitely get a print of that for my own home to put up. No doubt about it.
And then we'll have
blowing the horn.
2 versions. One version
Yeah.
guy has his shirt on. The other version he doesn't.
No, it's all shirt off.
Oh, all shirt.
All shirt off. Why do we need a shirt on version?
Just like flame tattoos all over him and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Fucking barbed wire.
Yeah.
Wrapping him.
Oh,
Saucy.
This is gold. This is gold. So, all right, back on track. Hey, back off track.
Yeah.
You were talking about the Yelp reviews.
Hold on. Can you hear us at all right now?
You might want to give us a sec. We got a blower.
A leaf
outside.
blower is right outside the door. Maybe you can't hear it.
If you can't hear it, we're all good to go.
No, we
Okay.
can't hear you. Or we
Oh,
can't
okay.
hear
Okay.
it. We can hear you fine.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good. Dude,
Sorry.
this is magical. I want to do a Arizona themed like owners read mean reviews, where Evan reads a review of like your taproom review from like when you were, like
That would be
I
fantastic.
hate Mead and I went there and I hated theirs too. Like,
Review over.
yeah. But I think it's good. I think a lot of people, it's hilarious to them to read it. But also on the other side of it, I have a little bit of hope that the person who wrote it sees dude, Evan's a good dude. Like, well, fuck, I feel like a dick for writing that.
That's what I'm relying on for all of our 5-star reviews, is that people have met me in person and they're like, well, I can't make fun of him. He's too sweet.
Product.
He's kind of special. I don't think I should make fun of him.
All right, so I'll bring it back on track for real this time. You guys are gonna open up a spot downtown. Things are going well. Say, hey, we need to open up a facility. Guy Fieri came in, fucking guns a-blazing, saying, here's what you guys need, right? You need a tap room. So you open a tap room in your production facility.
Yeah, little tiny tap room. It did pretty well, but we quickly ran into, I'd say, like 3 problems. The first one being there's not enough room in here, so you had to show up in the first half an hour, or you can drink standing up. There's no food because we're in we're in a light industrial area, and we would tell people they could bring in food. So you'd occasionally get people like coming in and picnicking, which was pretty damn awesome.
Yeah.
But and I think the third one was that like, and this wasn't so much a problem with the tap room itself, but maybe like the location. Was just that if you wanted to come to our tap room, you had to specifically be searching for us. Yeah. We're way out of the way. You weren't going to get any walk-through traffic. And even with that, we were managing to pack the place. And so that's when it was like, well, all right, we need to do something different. But it was still, from that stage, it was still 1.5 years or something until we actually decided to go forward with the mead hall.
Where's the facility, your original facility, like compared to like downtown?
It's like about a mile southeast of downtown.
Yeah, unless you're going to U-Haul or it is light industrial. It's just a bunch of warehouse spaces that has an anti-chafing cream being made next to us.
Oh, dude, doing the Lord's work. Doing the Lord's work is what they're doing.
We've got some good neighbors. Yeah,
we've got some great neighbors right across from us. They make whiskey.
Yeah, Canyon Diablo Distilleries right
I've
across
heard good
from
things
us.
about that place.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
They're John Shaw whiskey.
So good. There's a place that makes like weed candy in food right across from us too.
Yeah.
So it was like
Road trip.
kind of like
Chafing cream and weed candy.
I was like, if we just had a sandwich shop, like I would never have to leave here.
Yeah.
I'd be set.
Yeah. And once the humidity,
I got chafing cream. I got weed gummy candy. I've got whiskey, and I've got sandwiches, and I've got mead.
You need to make mead sandwiches. Mead lovers. Like a mead lovers.
Right?
ooh, mead lovers.
They eat it. They're like, where's the meat? Like, I don't know. You're supposed to bring the meat. I brought the mead. It's a mead lovers.
Yeah.
That's why your bread is so
The bread's
soggy.
all sloppy.
Yeah.
Sloppy bread, sloppy bread.
Dude, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. I get it. I get it now. I love it. So, tap room opens up. Things are getting packed. How long? So when was it? Guy Fieri came when? 2017.
Yeah. Late in the summer in 2017.
And then
so we kept this spot for 2 years still. before we finally came up, because I think I signed the lease for the new place in September 2019. September. What a good month. And so it was almost 2 years here. And so sort of in that time we were building up, because like I said, my original idea was really just wholesale. And so that was like our primary focus still. So we're self-distributed still, which is kind of getting ridiculous at this point. We have almost 100 retailers, all the way from Tucson to Holbrook, all the way over to Prescott and back down to Phoenix. I don't know.
That's awesome, man.
Draw some sort of triangle with that.
A polygon.
How many points? I don't know.
Yeah, no, the distribution, is all over the place. That's one of the hustles, again, that Evan has always done. I mean, not only opening up an entire mead hall, but also driving every single week, hundreds of miles and like 12 to 20 hour days on the road.
I'm a hustler, baby.
Yeah. Just getting that meat out to people, and so it's pretty impressive to watch the distribution of this place.
Yeah. It's fun. With that adds value to people as well, right? Like when they can not only just have a great product, but when there's a great story behind it, when there's heart, when there's like you see Evan pulling up at Craft Beer Hop Stop at 112 degrees, sweating through his shirt, and he's got this meat. You're like, who the fuck's this guy, right? Like that guy, I'm gonna try his, And then Alan's like, dude, it's good stuff. Alan's a big fan of your guys' stuff too, so that's cool to have those retailers that'll push out product and say, hey, this is legit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what's keeping things going during this pandemic is being able to have people who you've built relationships just because you're building those relationships anyway, but then that that bleeds over into tough times when you create that family and those relationships, like you said, people who not only love the product, but they love when this guy comes pulling up because they know they're going to have a great conversation, and he's a great person, he's a hard worker. That's the owner pulling up, right? That's the owner dropping off this mead. That's not a distributor, that's not like a representative. And so yeah, sorry, totally interrupted you there.
No, but that's it exactly, man. That's what So how do you decide that you're going to open up this, like get an down, because I'm not going to actually specifics, but I know downtown Flagstaff is not cheap. that little piece, that little, I don't know what the square mileage is between like Birch to where like that block. That's got to be pretty penny.
Lot smaller than it's worth, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, it really just kind of fell into our laps. Like that's one, like I've always been one that it's like, with my science background, like I love the numbers. I love I remember the first time that I got to like a year's worth of sales, and I was like, excellent. Now I can compare February to last February. Like I loved it, like I love my numbers with everything. And we really just kind of jumped in to the downtown space. Like we knew that we needed to do something about our tap room. We needed to change something because it was so busy. We don't have a dishwasher here. Like it's not designed for retail sales really.
Yeah.
And we knew we needed to change something. And then my wife, like we were actually getting to the point where I was looking at purchasing some more equipment, expanding our production capabilities. And then my wife found this, maybe getting a little more fuel efficient delivery vehicle. I don't know. 11 miles per gallon sucks.
Twisted Metal.
So, yeah, seriously, Twisted Metal is she's not good on gas. She's not good on gas. She sure does advertise well, but she doesn't get there cheaply.
Yeah.
And like so it's just kind of trying to knowing that we needed to do something. I wanted to spend money in these other places to help grow the business. And my wife was like, there's a spot open in downtown. And I was like, well, okay, let's think. And we were signing a lease before, it was so fast.
She has a deep voice too.
She does. She has an amazingly deep voice.
There seems to be a location downtown.
I like him with a deep voice. I like it gravelly. Here, baby, smoke these cigarettes. And I'm like, so it's just like, I mean, it was really a big jump for us. Like, I'm not totally sure. We knew what we needed to do, but we didn't do a whole lot of calculation in it. We didn't look for other places when this place came available, but also like space in downtown Flagstaff is kind of a commodity. And you got to get in there when it's open.
I was going to say, I can't see those opening like very often.
No, not at all. Especially right there on 66. Yeah. And we have parking there in Martins. There's not a lot of places in downtown that have parking. And we literally have our own designated parking spots and stuff.
Yeah.
So like
that's huge.
It's pretty fantastic. Yeah, our customers can go park easy, get in and out, not worry about anything. And so it was huge, but it was scary. Like I've never had blueprints drawn up. That was one of the biggest. I learned so much there. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's where you had Nick, though, because if I know a little bit of Nick's history, and he opened up a business during a pandemic as well, right? Nick, wasn't there? You have experience in?
Yeah, we opened up in the pandemic of.
I was like fading off screen.
Yeah. No. I really actually was trying to think what pandemic we. No,
it was my joke. Yeah. It was my joke of saying that for you guys to open that during all of this.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
well, what's fun is that building was built during the 1916-1918 pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. So the building we were in, we were doing crazy? A build out 100 years.
Yeah. Like the floor that's in there is 100 years old. It's this old oak floor. The ceilings, a lot of that building is actually the original building besides what we added onto it.
Yeah.
And so it's so weird. Like, so it was our landlord's grandma who actually built that building, like with my own bare hands, and like built the building. And it's so cool to me that we're now going back through, because when we came into that building, it didn't even have a hot water heater, right? Like it was a little rustic.
What was it?
It was a saddle shop before, so it was like leather goods and saddles, and so like they didn't have a hot water heater. The bathroom it wouldn't pass county health. We'll put it that way. Yeah.
Smelled like pickles.
It smelled like pickles. And
like a bucket.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, it was like, I could have sworn that we agreed to a toilet, and this is just definitely a bucket.
You glued on a little handle that doesnesn't work. That's cute, but that doesn't make
flush.
It a toilet.
I've tried it 3 times.
Not happening.
Not happening.
No, it was in rough shape, and these guys put in some elbow grease. There's
once again, YouTube to go see Evan's elbow.
We're milking my elbow right now.
He's milking the elbow for the milk stout.
Oh, gross.
Oh, elbow.
So a lot of elbow grease, a lot of hard work. Almost everything you see in there was made by Evan, his cousin Ronnie, and Ed. And so tables, bar top is gorgeous. It brings you right off of Route 66 and right into Norway or Iceland or one of the mead halls of that time era, especially at night. Once we're able to stay open later with our hours, the sun's up till 8:30 or so. You dim those lights, the helmet lights. There's these little flaming helmet lights. You can look on our Instagram or Facebook to see pictures of that.
Yeah, we built wall sconces. Like it's a mead hall looks like the inside of a ship,
upside down.
Upside down. Right, and so that's really what we were going for, was like these big, we used ponderosa pine for it, and it's these big beams that come up and over the whole thing. There's like a center soffit beam that runs the whole 60 feet of the mead hall or whatever.
Okay.
And it's really, really cool. And so we powered up each one of these posts that makes up that,
it would be like the ribs of the boat.
Yeah, and we mounted helmets onto them, and we put these we put up a keyless and then mounted a helmet on top of it, and then put these LED flame bulbs up in there. Dude, light bulbs these days? Ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Like
the options?
That's a tangent. Yeah, the options. So these LED bulbs, it looks almost like those older, like the fluorescent ones,
Oh yeah, but the Edison bulbs or whatever.
Yeah, and but it's like just kind of shape wise, sort of. It's like long and cylindrical, sort of. And then, but on the inside, it's all filled with these LEDs, and it looks like a fire when you plug it in. And it's got a gravity sensor in it, so you can actually plug it into a fixture, flip it upside down, and it still burns upright.
Wow. Dude, that's awesome. Weird. So that's what you guys have. So as you're in this place, it darkens a little bit, and it seems like you're being lit by fire.
Totally. Like all these helmets look like they have fire coming out of the eye holes on them.
Dude, the helmets are glowing. big chandeliers that are like low lit, so it's almost like little flame chandeliers, a lot of wood. There are furs on the wall with some swords firmly attached. You can't take those off.
Yeah. Don't even try.
If you check out our Meadcast, I did an interview with a guy who is the authority on mead halls. He's over in Essex, England, and he talks about what a mead hall is. And one of the key points is having a fire within the mead hall. And obviously, we can't have a fire inside that's burning, but we will always have a fire burning. We have Evan and his, actually, you didn't really do much of anything, but his wife and my wife and son and his brother's girlfriend built this faux fireplace and put a TV in it, and so we have a fire going constantly in there, and so that's a key feature of it too. So it is a mead hall,
and it looks pretty good.
We went into it.
I've seen people try to throw paper at the TV.
I did, yeah. We were sitting there picking up trash, and like I had a little piece of paper, and I didn't quite throw it at the TV, but I like went for it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's not a fireplace.
Yeah, I do it too. It looks good.
Yeah, but they really went all out, and they know the history of mead halls and some of the culture and stuff like that. So you're walking into it and you do feel it. It's but it's not hokey at all. It's like actually comfortable, lively, and it's nice. There's a huge community table. Can't do that quite yet, but eventually we'll get to a point in society where
28-foot table,
big 28, big wooden, awesome. Like big old heavy benches. Like you're gonna sit down.
Pike,
you're gonna have a turkey leg from Proper next door, a turkey leg and a glass of mead, and just be like feeling the beautiful gluttonous.
No words. There'll be no just sound, just hitting the meat off your chest.
Right. And you're like, thank goodness that guy's got most of the meat on his chest because he already had like 4 horns.
Got him off. Well, the horn. That's before we wrap this up. We got to talk about the horn, right? That's a key component, and I think it's cool. It's your guys' emblem.
Yeah, well, I think it ties everything really together nicely. Like our motto as a company is live simply, drink simply. Hence the whole very simple flavors for the most part. We're not trying to be subtle with anything. Hence the no sulfites, no sorbates, just all of that. Like we wanted simple ingredients. We wanted a simple drink, still of high quality. Live simply, drink simply. And since we were making mead, considering it's the oldest alcoholic beverage known to man, we kind of figured, well, why not put it in the oldest drinking vessel known to man as well? And we had a couple of options with that because we could have gone with a stomach or bladder, but like neither one of those quite had the same ring as Drinking Horn, and the story of it actually, I mean, as you guys can tell from this, like it's a very family oriented business. That's part of why we started this. Was I wanted a legacy to leave behind on some level. I wanted to be able to start something that can help employ my family members and my friends in an economy like we're in today, where life's tough. And we've been succeeding in that. And so it makes me super happy. But when we were throwing around ideas for a company name, our older son, Zane, heard us talking about the name Drinking Horn, just kind of playing with it back and forth. And he was, 13. He's turning 21 this year now. So he was young at the time. And he brought us this picture of a drinking horn that he had drawn up and everything. And it had D and H all big on it. I actually have it. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to make Nick talk for a second. And I actually just found it because
original drawing?
Our front office. Yeah, the original drawing.
Oh,
and so
nice.
that's where the name, Drinking Horn, it was birthed as a very family-oriented business, as well as just that live simply, drink simply. And so being the Drinking Horn is the oldest known alcoholic beverage drinking choice of imbiber. That's a great word. It kind of just seemed like it all sort of, it made sense. It all sort of was a very cohesive thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he goes and grabs that. I guess I will take this moment to read from you from a book excerpt. This is no.
I was in, man. Like if Nick's gonna read something, I think it's gonna be great. This is verse 7 of Guy Fieri's Pound Town, or what's his name of his taste town, Flavor Town.
Oh, Flavor Town. Yeah.
Oh, dude. So he kind of, in his mind, he had a vision like, hey, as I'm looking at your shirt, that's your logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it right there.
That's really cool. I like that. And what a cool story too, that your son was the one that, kind of took just kind of almost like a fleeting thought in a way, right? Like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, there's something to that. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, we were throwing around a bunch of other names, and like out of everything we were talking about, and when you're in that kind of mode where you're trying to come up with a name, like you're being stone cold sober is not really the best thing for it. You need to loosen up. You need to get some of those weird ideas out there. And so like we have been throwing around all kinds of stuff, and our oldest son was the one that latched onto Drinking Horn and brought us the logo, and it was like, well, shit, that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Decided.
Yeah. Well, what I think is really cool too is, and this is one of the reasons I why both Luke and I are so excited to do what we do with specifically Arizona Food and Beverage, is that there's a lot of overlap of conservation and sustainability with the game and fish and with Sonago malt and all that with the alcohol industry and food industry. It's badass, man. So do you ever see anything in the future where Drinking Horn almost has an initiative into that, or a connection into the nature side of things?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we do a lot of outreach stuff right now. We've taught a whole lot of classes to folks on like bees and how to handle swarms and how to do some of that stuff. We've got some more videos going up teaching people more about the bees going up on YouTube here pretty quick. And I think it's a huge component. Yeah,
it's crazy how much Mead is already there in the sense of helping out. If you think about
no machines.
Yeah, the agricultural impact to it is like I had said before, almost positive in a sense, because like you said, no machines. The only machine you're using is for the beekeeper to go and check on the hives and collect the honey. There's no plots of land that need to grow grain or need to grow grapes or anything like that. You're taking these workers, and I at least personally thank the bees all the time. I'm super thankful for them because they're the ones doing the hard work. They're making their millions of visits to flowers. But anyway, the ability to throw a couple boxes, which is the footprint of 2 feet by 2 feet or 3 feet by 1 foot of the hives, is so minimal, and yet it's also a productive kind of activity where they're pollinating not just the wildflowers, they're also pollinating people's orchards that are already there. It just seems like it's a service, and then we get the benefits of that. So as far, people, when we were in the beer industry, you're talking about water conservation. There is minimal cleaning that needs to be done because mead is so clean as it is. The honey, you think honey's sticky, but when you dilute it with water, it's not. It comes right off. The fermenters are almost clean when you empty them.
We joke about borrowing gaskets from brewers and stuff like that, because like when we borrow gas, like say we're setting up a whole system and I've destroyed all my gaskets of whatever size and we have to borrow one, like gaskets from brewers are always like brown and yellow, all these like gross colors.
Been through the ringer.
Totally. Yeah. We can use a piece of equipment, like we can use a gasket for 5 years straight and it doesn't even have any color to it. Like mead is very, very soft on everything.
Yeah, including so when I was at Dark Sky, I saw a lot of grain, and it does go back to the farms and all that. I'm more talking up mead than anything right here. It's just such a simple beverage that has such a low impact. It's one of the bigger things that's really hit me coming into this beverage.
And that's what I love about bees is just like it's all a human thing. Like there will never be any ways for robots to be able to take over the honey manufacturing process. You can't do it. Like it just doesn't work. It takes a human touch to be able to do it. And so it's something where like we're not, for producing our alcohol, we're not using pesticides. We're not using any sort of insecticide. We're not using all kinds of fuel to run big equipment to run across grain fields. I tried to grow grain once. It was stupid.
Energy in versus product out.
Yeah. I had an 8x8 going, and I raised a whole bunch of wheat, and I took it and I blew off the chaff and I ground it up, and I made 3/4 of a loaf of bread. 4 months well spent. So like the amount of space it takes is huge, and like honey is so like, I mean, for anybody out there, if what they're looking for is a small footprint beverage, it don't get any smaller than mead.
Yeah. Seriously. That's a perfect way to end it right there. Yeah, you want a very low impactful beverage, something that's simple on the environment and on your body, honestly. Yeah, mead is the one to
and
go
it packs
for.
well into a backpack.
Yeah.
Indeed, it does in these handy little bottles, 500
Right?
milliliters.
They're beauties. Little beauties.
Yeah, and then you take that and you put it in a bladder like one of those Camelbacks and take it backpacking. That 13%, I'll always be a whiskey. I'll always bring a little bit of whiskey if I'm backpacking too for that weight ratio. But the next best thing I think is mead. So, but I do want to reiterate how great of a beverage it is, and I think our journey. You asked like us getting into it. Our journey eventually is for the education of sustaining the ecosystems for these pollinators. I think that's where we can really step in and educate people and say, like he said, we don't not only do we not use pesticides or insecticides, we don't want them around. They blow onto the hive and they can decimate a hive, like that. And
I've lost hives on a windy day when somebody's spraying in the wrong direction.
Wow. Yeah.
So maintaining those ecosystems for pollinators, I think, is where our eventual next step for helping old Mother Earth out is going to be.
Go bees!
Go bees!
Get buzzed on the way, right?
Get buzzed.
Yep.
So before we wrap it up, I want to make sure that we play proper homage. This is what a bottle of mead will do to you. I'm slurry. My lips were dry.
Got you.
The podcast. You guys have a podcast that is actually Nick, my man. I love everything that you work on. This is really exciting because, like you said, I'm seeing you connect with people that like this is the expert of mead halls, right? So. What is the podcast?
Yeah. So as usual, anything I do has to have a podcast involved. I just, as a former teacher, I love to hear myself talk. So we have Drinking Horn Meadcast, and so a little play on the words there. And it is a decent amount of episodes out. Again, we're building a mead hall in a pandemic, but if you are interested in mead, and not only mead, if you're interested in bees, if you're interested in the Viking culture, the Norse mythology, those are the kind of the three main things that we're hitting: mead, Vikings, and bees. And I am starting to be able to dive deeper. Like you said, I have the expert on mead halls over there in Essex, England. We have kind of our little expert Viking, our big expert Viking guy, Hallbjorn, who will serve you your mead at the mead hall. He is basically a Viking. Like, I know he's, just a guy who's working at the meadery in Flagstaff, Arizona, but he's a Viking. So he'll tell stories. He'll let you know the history of things. When you go to get a glass of mead, he's going to sit there and talk to you about anything and everything about the culture.
Educated.
Yeah, you're going to get educated. So we've pulled him on for a couple episodes. So yeah, the Meadcast, I think and if you're listening to this and you enjoy the goofiness of me and Evan's interactions, that's what you're going to get. It's going to get weird. It gets weird. I mean, you can look us up on Bing. You can Bing search us.
You can Bing us.
You can Bing us. Oh, you're a fellow Binger.
Dude, I'd be a lot.
So the secret handshake of the Bing. But we have a good time with it, and I think you'll be entertained for sure with the Meadcast. So subscribe, review, smash that subscribe button. It's protocol.
Pluck.
Yeah, no, it's a good time. And then just if you want to, we're plugging, right? Okay, let's plug. We got our YouTube channel, which will get better and better and more. But right now we've got silly little, Viking kind of movie short films there. We've got our trips to go visit the bees. We've got a couple episodes where we go and sometimes it's looking for pests that are harming them or winterizing them. So it's just fun. I personally think it's fun. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think we have a good time with it, and I think you'll be entertained as well, especially if you're halfway down a mead bottle.
It's sort of like a beginner's guide to beekeeping and a moderate's guide to mead.
Yeah, it's No, it'll become an expert's guide to mead. But you're not going there and you're not getting those videos. And I'm sorry, I'm not that sorry, but there's some videos out there and they're like, and then you do this, and then make sure that this, and the bees will do that. Like, it's like, get the hell out of here.
We're kind of entertaining, I like to think.
Yeah. What's the key? That's what we focus on: entertainment and education. Make it educational, make it entertaining, right?
Yeah.
One or the other is, that's gotta have the balance, man. Gotta have the balance. The balance. So, what do you guys see in the forefront with Drinking Horn? Like, I know you were talking about some initiatives with like the bees and stuff, but like what's the vision look like?
Our big picture.
Big picture.
The
big, like.
Well, I think that like on just the little, we're just getting through the pandemic first.
Well, just to
cover the little.
Yep,
we're just trying to stay alive right now and make it through all of this. And then I think, bees is one of our bigger focuses in all this. And I would love to actually start big is that there is no Sierra Nevada of mead yet. We can fill that block. Sure, that's where we're shooting for. That's what we're going for, is we want to see mead for the masses. Mm-hmm. That's why we produce a product that doesn't have all kinds of crap in it. That's why we produce a product that is extremely drinkable compared to a lot of the other meads. And we produce a product that is priced right to be mead for the masses. And that's really what we want to see. We want to take mead from being like it's an anniversary, so maybe we'll have a bottle or something, into like, well, shit, it's Thursday, let's drink mead. And so like that's what we want to see, is mead for the masses. And I think like overall that's our big goal. We've got a lot of goals along the way with it. We want to make honey worth its money, is one of the big things. Bees right now are more of a commodity as pollinators than they are as honey producers. I'd love to see that change. I would love to see more local beekeeping going on. We've got a plan to kind of start up some things. This is a couple years down the road, but like we've got a plan to start up some stuff to start helping more local beekeepers being able to produce their own honey, raise their own bees. Of course, owning a meadery, it doesn't hurt to have more honey producers.
I didn't even think about that part of it, but I guess
well, that's and just trying to raise that whole thing up in general. I mean, I would love to see just more awareness, awareness and mead for the masses.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. That's it. And,
beauty.
Yeah. Dudes, that was awesome. I was Luke, and it may be the whole bottle of mead that I drank, but that was the funnest one we've done. That is,
yeah, definitely,
for sure.
We're always around for more. Around for more.
Well, dude, when we can, I would love to do more stuff with you guys. Nick, we always talk about wanting to connect on some more things, but man, our vision with this whole thing is like we want to tell the story of Arizona food and beverage, creating content, and just really doing cool shit, making fun shit, and making an impact. So yeah.
So one of the things you guys need to do eventually is get up here, or we'll meet us in the Camp Verde area with our hive. We'll get you some bee suits, and we'll get you the real deal experience. And you'll, if you're down, it's a little freaky sometimes. This hive we have right now is pretty aggressive, but I haven't gotten stung yet, so. But it's fun when you get in there and you see that honey coming off of the comb, and you see them just all buzzing around and all that stuff, and you're hitting them.
Yeah.
It's a cool experience. So I think that might be something neat to see, a local, some local honey production or something like that.
We've been pulling like 60 pounds or so every other week.
This hive's doing so well.
Wow.
So it's killing it.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
we used
awesome.
to have more, and then Vero might happen, but.
Yeah, there's a big pest that's going worldwide, and it's something. It's the big talk trying to get a hold of that, and it is not the murder.
Wait, what is it?
It's a mite, like the tiny little red. Like basically, it's like a spider kind of cousin. Varroa mite. It's mite, not Mike. Well, maybe some of them named Mike.
Varroa.
My name's Mick Irvin. This is my brother Mike.
He's gonna be Mick. I'm Mike.
I'm Mike.
Hey, Mickey. Hey, Mikey. He likes it. No, it's a mite that goes in and can it can basically destroy your hive eventually.
It's most likely the largest proponent of what people are calling like colony collapse.
Yeah,
right now.
that's
with
what
the
we
bees
figured out.
Is most likely just this little tiny mite.
Yeah,
Wow,
and we're going to do episodes on the Meadcast, and when those are out, you can learn all about it.
Hell yeah.
But thankfully, we don't have any mites on this colony, but we just lost our last colony to the mites.
Yeah, we lost one not too long ago.
Yeah, so. But I think that'd be a great potential episode for you guys to get out there and just have a blast around beehives and check that kind of process out. So
I'd love to do that. Yeah, dude. And I know Luke's in for sure. He's like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally down with bees. Wasps, I don't fuck with, but bees.
Hell no.
Fuck wasps.
Yeah, wasps.
Bees,
Yay,
wasps,
bees.
fuck them.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right, dudes. Well, it's been almost 2 hours. It was awesome. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep you guys updated.
Sounds good. Look forward to it coming out, man. We're excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, dudes. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
bye, guys.
Peace.
Luke, nice
Later.
to meet you.
Yeah.
Likewise.
We hoped you liked that episode as much as we did. Drinking Horn Mead is fantastic stuff, and those dudes are a blast to hang out with. Make sure you follow Drinking Horn Meadery on social media, as well as A Taste of AZ. See you next time.